620 officers drawn from various ministries and agencies of the government were divided into various subgroups, namely culture and tourism, environment and sustainability, economic revolution, infrastructural development, as well as institutional reforms echo. Part of their proposed implementation strategies include use of radio and TV jingles, direct contact with the people, and use of communication signs and symbols, which will help reinforce the vision of the state government reform programs under the Make Edo Great Again mega project.
We also be reaching our secondary target audience, which are our investors and, of course, the entire citizens of Edo State.
But the primary focus and content of these campaign messages, according to Governor Obaseki, should be on building the broken trust.
One thing that is clear to me and to most of us is that the general public do not trust government. They don't trust government, especially when we now look at the role of politicians in government. When you got there, look at that. I've heard it before. That's how they always say it. You know, they dismiss the message or discount the importance of the message. So the key challenge to us and to ECHO is how do we communicate to build trust? How do we communicate so that we can build the trust and belief in our people? When you go and say things or put out messages that people cannot verify, clearly they will just shake their heads. They will just not believe or trust what you have said. So all we're doing, thing should be building trust with the people of Edo State.
He encouraged alignment in the delivery of government key communication messages in line with what are considered top priorities. 65 of these 120 communication officers were drawn from the Ministry of Communication and Orientation. 39 were from the new recruits into the state civil service, while 16 came from the Edo Internal Revenue Service and Edo Jobs. Chinedu Ekeja, KUFM News.
The federal government says it will recover £200 million hoarded in the United States as it embarks on a massive recovery of assets belonging to the country. This is according to the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, who was speaking on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. The AGF said the government is trying to gather international momentum associated with the processes and procedures in terms of making things easier for countries to recover assets with ease. He added that the government is fully committed to its anti-corruption campaign and by extension spreading its dragnet to those who are in the custody of laundered or stolen funds. The Senate on Wednesday passed the 2022-2024 medium-term expenditure and fiscal strategy paper, retaining all the assumptions and projections submitted to it by the President Muhammadu Buhari in July. The Red Chamber retained the exchange rate of 410.15 naira per dollar proposed by the executive and also approved a projected gross domestic product growth rate of 4.20%. The Senate retained the projected inflation rate of 13% fiscal deficit estimate of 5.62 trillion naira. Buhari's projected new borrowings of 4.89 trillion naira, including foreign and domestic borrowing, were also retained and approved. Also, the $3.5 billion International Monetary Fund loan at the rate of 0.01% to 0.02% proposed by the President was also approved to shore the internal borrowings and to reduce external borrowings because of the exchange rate risk. The Senate retained the federal government's 2022 revenue projection of 8.36 trillion naira and expenditure of 13.98 trillion naira. The Senate has passed 2 bills for the establishment of an orthopedic hospital in Dekina, Kogi State, and Federal College of Education, Umu Ekiti State. The approval of the 2 bills was sequel to the consideration of 2 separate reports by the Senate Committees on Health and Tertiary Institutions and TEFON. The reports were presented by Senators Yahaya Olorebe and Nora Dadut. Olorebe, in his presentation, observed that Nigeria is one of the densely populated countries in the world, which is plagued with poverty and an exceedingly high burden of disease. He explained that orthopedic hospitals are important in improving preserving healthcare inpatients, adding that locating one in Burkina will bring healthcare closer to residents of densely populated urban and rural communities. The upper chamber of the National Assembly has constituted a 7-member committee on the Electoral Amendment Bill. The 7-member committee is to liaise with the House of Representatives to harmonize the differences in the bill, which was passed by both chambers in July. The members of the committee are Kabiru Gaya, Chibola Bashiru, Danjuma Oje, Uche Ekwinife, Sani Musa, and Matthew Urogide. The panel will be led by the Senate leader, Abdullahi Yahya. The Electoral Amendment Bill had sought to resolve issues concerning INEC's introduction of modern technologies into the electoral process, particularly accreditation of voters, electronic voting, and electronic transmission of results from polling units. The Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, has forwarded President Muhammadu Buhari's nominees into the board of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to the Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes for screening. The President also forwarded the names of appointees into the newly established boards of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NPRA, and Upstream Regulatory Commission, URC, to the Committee on Petroleum, Downstream and Upstream, respectively. The nominees were mentioned to the relevant committees for legislative action during the start of plenary proceedings on Wednesday, after the receipt of 3 separate requests from the President to that effect. The upper chamber had on Tuesday received a request from President Buhari to confirm the nominees as members of the board of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Buhari, in another letter to the upper chamber, also sought the confirmation of the board of the Upstream Regulatory Commission. The House of Representatives on Wednesday indicated its willingness to investigate the probable exclusion of River State from the list of states to benefit from the federal government's borrowings. This is sequel to a motion of urgent public importance by Representative Solomon Bob, alleging that Rivers is the only state out of the 36 states to be left out. The lawmaker further alleged discrimination against River State, which contributes enormously to the Federation account. The House has mandated its Committee on Aids and Loans to liaise with the Presidency to include River State in loans if it is found to be the only state that has been excluded. The rep's move is coming 2 days after River State Governor Nyesom Wike described as an act of discrimination the alleged refusal of the federal government to include Rivers as one of the states that will benefit from projects for which it was seeking fresh foreign loans to execute. Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Xiu Jianchun, says there are ongoing talks with Chinese-owned banks to establish operations in Nigeria. Jianchun said the move will boost Nigeria's economy and expand trade relations between the two nations. He spoke with journalists on Tuesday in Abuja during the commemoration of the 2021 Chinese Moon Festival and China-Nigeria Cultural Week. The ambassador said the establishment of Chinese banks in Nigeria will be one of the key areas of discussion during the China-Nigeria Binational Committee meeting. Business activities at the Nigerian Ports Authority NPA headquarters were disrupted on Wednesday morning when a fire gutted a wing of its marina office in Lagos. Findings revealed that the fire affected 3 offices on the 6th floor of the 6-story building. Officials working on the floor were directed to go back home. NPA General Manager, Corporate and Strategic Communications, Olaseni Alakija, confirmed the incident in a statement saying the situation has been brought under control while no casualty was recorded. Coming up in the morning tonight, entertainment news, Don Jazzy endorses the Beats Awards. Details shortly after this break. You're You're still on to News Break on K92.7 FM Benin City. On entertainment, Maven Records CEO Don Jazzy has thrown his weight behind organizers of the Beats Awards ahead of the 6th edition. In 2019, Don Jazzy had promised to support the organizers with a sum of 1 million naira. Holding on to the relationship, the organizers visited Don Jazzy, who reaffirmed his decision to support the team all the way. The organizers also revealed a new and special category titled Don Jazzy's New Discovery Producer of the Year. Don Jazzy will be giving out 1 million naira to the winner of the newly unveiled category. The producers of the Beats Awards, Eddie Wood, has invited professionals and industry players working behind the scene in the Nigerian music industry to submit creative materials like music and videos that were released during the year in review to be considered for nomination. In its 6th year, over 120 professionals have been acknowledged by the platform. And that's the news. But before we go, a quick recap of the headlines. Governor Obaseki charges communication officers to build trust with the people through their messages. Senate passes orthopedic hospital establishment bill. Reps to probe probable exclusion of rivers from benefiting states in federal government borrowings. Be remember that the continued unity of Nigeria is a collective responsibility. Be sure to play your part. KFM News Break was produced by Blessing Asekome and Benjamin Kadiri. Saying thanks for listening.